In this video, you'll learn 3 steps that you can take to keep your composure after mistakes during games. Now, I was at a baseball game the other day, and this pitcher who was pitching pretty well up to this point, he went out there and he walked the first batter. He was pretty wild. Now, after that walk, he started to get a little frustrated. Next thing you know, he threw a couple more bad pitches to the next batter, and then he slammed his fist into his glove. His body language completely changed. You could really see that he was frustrated with himself. And it wasn't long before he ended up walking the bases loaded, and then he walked the next batter in, and then he just completely spiraled out of control. He had to be pulled from the game. What's interesting, though, is that the previous inning, so the previous half, the bottom half of the last inning, he was hitting, and he got the last out, and he struck out. And he struck out on a bad pitch, a pitch that he didn't feel like should have been called a strike. When he came into the dugout, he slammed his bat, he slammed his helmet, and then he had to go out there and pitch. That right there is a perfect example of what can happen when you let your emotions and your frustration get the best of you during games. Up to that point in the game, this was about the 3rd or 4th inning, I think. Up to that point in the game, he had been pitching pretty well. So it wasn't that all of a sudden he lost his mechanics or he forgot how to control a pitch. What happened was his composure had been lost. He got so frustrated and angry over his at bat that he then lost his composure going out there and having to pitch. And so then one walk, instead of being able to bounce back from a first batter walk, he ended up getting more frustrated, which led to him losing more composure, losing more control on his pitches, and it spiraled until he had walked the bases loaded and he walked a batter in and he needed to be pulled from the game. Has something similar ever happened to you where you let your frustrations get the best of you out there, your emotions took over, and then your performance continued to get worse and worse and worse? You see this snowball effect happen where one mistake turns into 2 and then 3 and then many more. That right there shows the importance of keeping your composure after mistakes. Now, keeping your composure after mistakes doesn't mean that you want to make mistakes, because I can guarantee that baseball player did not want to strike out, and he equally was not happy that he was, walking those batters. And I don't expect him to be, just like I don't expect any athlete I work with to be. But the truth is, when you make a mistake, that mistake is in the past. So all you need to be focused on is putting yourself in the best position to make the next play and to succeed moving forward within the game. Something that is incredibly difficult if you allow your frustrations to get the best of you. So this 3-step process is something that I use with the athletes I work with in one-on-one mental coaching, which, by the way, if you are interested in learning more about one-on-one mental performance coaching, I put a link to that in the description below. And so this process is incredibly powerful as long as you practice it and you put it into action. So step number 1 is you want to use breathwork. Whenever your emotions are getting the best of you, the first thing that we have to work on is getting you to calm yourself down in that moment. Now, calming yourself down will be very difficult, which is why we want to use something incredibly simple like focusing on taking some deep breaths. What you can do in these moments is use something known as count breathing. Breathe in and inhale for a count of 5, and then exhale for a count of 5. Do this a few times to really start centering your attention back into the present moment and calming yourself down. Step 2 is you want to repeat a mantra. Repeating a mantra means that you choose a specific statement that you will repeat to yourself in those moments when you lose composure and you are frustrated. You repeat this mantra because it helps you let go of that frustration and refocus yourself in the present moment. It could be something as simple as forget about it, next play, or let it go, move on, or I'll get the next one. But after you take those deep breaths, you want to begin taking control of your thinking. It's less important about what you actually say to yourself and more important that you are trying to say something to yourself. Because if you don't take control of your thoughts in the moment after a mistake when you are frustrated, your thoughts will take control of you. So you have to start working on leveraging self-talk, so using a mantra to take control over your thinking. And then step 3 is you just need to refocus. The truth of the matter is, mistakes during games will only hold you back and hurt you if you allow one mistake to turn into many mistakes. You can move on from one mistake. One walked batter, one error, one missed shot, one turnover. Yeah, it's tough. You didn't want it to happen, but it happened. You can move on from that. You can still have a good game in spite of that. But you can't have a good game if you allow that one mistake to turn into 2, 3, 4, and many more. So you have to work on refocusing yourself. But what exactly do you need to refocus onto? Well, you don't want to refocus onto something that I have to strike this next batter out, or I have to score this next basket. You want to refocus onto something controllable and simple to start giving yourself the feeling of success moving forward in the game. So for that baseball player example, what he and I worked on was refocusing just simply on the mitt. As simple as that is, he just focused on throwing this next pitch to the mitt, letting go of the idea that I need to even throw a strike. Just focus on your target and try to execute that. So we need to break it down in terms of you being refocused onto something incredibly simple. We know when the emotions are getting the best of you, your mind is probably racing with a lot of different things. So let's just refocus as simple and controllable as we can. Now, in addition to learning how to keep your composure after a mistake, there's also the idea of reframing your expectations going into a game. So what I've done right here is I've linked another video that goes into detail on setting what are known as process goals or performance objectives for games. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each week on sports psychology and mental training.